let's talk about whether or not Russell Wilson could end up getting benched in the near future. Welcome on into the Broncos breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, talking about number three because the play so far this year, I don't think, and this comes from someone who, if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, knows has been pretty critical of Russ ever since last year. But through 6 games this season, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,300 yards. Like, those aren't the numbers of someone you think is going to get benched, right? Just blind QB resume. If you were looking at just stats alone, you wouldn't think, yeah, those are numbers that need to be on the bench right now. So why are we talking about Russell Wilson potentially getting benched? Well, if you haven't been living under a rock the last 2 weeks, those numbers are fading away. And Russ had a nice start to the year playing the Raiders defense, Commanders defense, the Bears defense. Got torched by the Dolphins. Like, now that he's playing some tougher defenses, we are starting to see more of 2022 Russ and less of Seattle Russ. Now, ESPN's Dan Graziano wrote this in a recent write-up. I believe there is a non-zero chance it gets to the point where Wilson gets benched for Stidham. The Broncos gave Stidham real money in the offseason, more than you'd have thought would be necessary to secure his services as a backup. The first thing I thought of when I read that was, will the owners greenlight that? If you want to bench Damari Mathis, yeah, Greg Penner's not someone that you have to call and get permission for. If you want to bench the $234 million quarterback Russell Wilson is, you might have to get your boss's permission, because they definitely did not pay all that money to not be at least a part of the conversation of putting their $200+ million quarterback on the bench. That's probably something you need to get approval from above. And I don't know if they give that approval. They might say, you know what, Sean? We traded a first and a third and gave you a big, handsome contract for you to come here and improve Russell Wilson, not to quit on him and bench him halfway through the year. Give it some more time, please. Now, Russ so far in Denver, we know has been disappointing, right? 5-16 record. Wins aren't a quarterback stat, but man, when you're trying to push a narrative, wins quickly become a quarterback stat. I will add this. Russell Wilson has not been the biggest problem in Denver. I ranked the Broncos' biggest problems, and he wasn't even top 3 in my eyes. But the past 2 games, he has been a huge problem. Maybe the biggest problem altogether. So for that reason, yeah, I can see the train of thought of, if you look at the numbers over the last 2 weeks, and you see more of these numbers against the Packers coming up, and then the Chiefs yet again, maybe coming out of the bye before going to Buffalo, you see Jarrett Stidham come out of the tunnel as the starting quarterback. Like I said, Russ has not been the biggest problem. So if you think benching Russell Wilson is going to start adding more wins, I don't think you're on a good path. I don't think that's sound logic, because Russell Wilson is not giving up chunks of yards like Damari Mathis is every single time he steps on the field. Russell Wilson has not given up 5 sacks like Mike McGlinchey has already, when Mike McGlinchey's single season high is 6. He's at 5 already. Russell Wilson is not on the defensive line getting 0 penetration beyond Zach Allen. There are bigger problems on this roster right now than Russell Wilson. But we know how the NFL operates. When you're the starting quarterback, you take all the blame and you get all the success. So naturally, when you're 1-5, people want changes. And if you're Russell Wilson, if you're the quarterback of that 1-5 team, they're going to start calling for your job first. So what do you all think? Should the Broncos bench Russell Wilson? Yes or no? I don't think they should. I do not think benching Russell Wilson is going to deliver a better product on the field. And what's the point of benching a quarterback if it's not to get a better result? Like, maybe a few more starts like this, you might have to explore the possibility of going to Jarrett Stidham, because if you keep losing, you can raise the point of, Well, what does it matter if we lose by 20 or lose by 30? We're still going to lose. So we might as well see what we have in Stidham to try something else out because the current situation is not working. But I'm going to say this much. Don't expect a lot better from Jarrett Stidham. I do not have big grades and a very high expectation level for Jarrett Stidham. Now, let's talk about Stidham for a moment here. He signed that 2-year, $10 million contract with Denver back in the offseason. Originally with the New England Patriots, didn't do much up in Foxborough. Then he went over to Vegas, followed his old buddy Mike McDaniels, and, well, he played 5 games for the Raiders last year, and he made 2 starts at the end of the season, going 0-2 in both starts. Now, Stidham in those 2 starts exceeded my expectations. Like, he had Devontae Adams to work with, so let's not act like he had nobody. He also had the future NFL rushing leader as Josh Jacobs in the backfield and Colton Miller in the offensive line. So the Raiders were a dumpster fire last year, but they had some good players in that dumpster fire. My prediction is this. If you end up benching Russell Wilson, let's just say arbitrary week 10. I bet you go back to Russ before the end of the year. I bet if you bench Russ in week 10, you tried out Jarrett Stidham for week 11, doesn't go well. Well, let's not panic after one start. Trot him out for week 12, it goes worse. Trot him out for week 13 maybe, and you're like, well, listen, we've done 3 starts of this. It's bad. We have to go back to Russ because it's worse actually with Jarrett Stidham. And now you're just a complete circus. Benching Russ, benching Stidham, going back to Russ. You're the laughingstock of the NFL. Listen, we're going to talk more about Russell Wilson and a potential out for the Broncos and his contract, which I know a lot of people have been talking about in just a second. But I do want to mention our sub-battle right now with the Chiefs report here in the month of October. We've got a good sizable lead. I crunched the numbers. I pulled up the numbers on YouTube for both channels. But I don't want to have it be a close race. The Chiefs are probably going to sweep the Broncos this year. That's just a tough pill to swallow. But help me at least take down our new Chiefs guy here at Chat Sports because he's been here since September. I've been here for over 2 years, and he thinks he's the big you-know-what in the locker room because Kansas City beat Denver. Don't make me work with that guy with that attitude. At least let me take down Jace Andrews and the Chiefs Report and subscribers this month. Now let's talk about Russell Wilson for a moment and his future. Because whether or not you want him to get benched this year, I think we can all agree it's not looking like he's going to be in Denver for that much longer past this year and maybe past 2024. Now, I said before, I think Russell Wilson is returning in 2024 because of his $89 million dead cap hit. But a lot of people have been commenting, no, you can get out of it. All right, let's look at it. If you flat out release Russell Wilson before June 1st of 2024, your dead cap hit for that upcoming season is $85 million. Meaning, let's just say that, keep math easy here. Let's say the NFL salary cap is $250 million. It's not going to be that number, but pick a nice even number, a nice round number. $85 million going to just one player who's not even on your team. The cap savings, there are none. It's negative $49.6 million. Now, a lot of people have brought up the fact that there is going to be a $37 million guarantee that hits if Russell Wilson is on the roster on the 5th day of the 2024 league year. Remember, the league year starts in March. That's when free agency starts. That's when all the trades can officially go through. So 5 days in, they have to make a decision. And if he's on that roster past day 5, another $37 million is guaranteed. Now, let's say you don't want to release him. You want to trade him. It's a little bit better, but not a whole lot better. If you trade him before June 1st, I don't know who would be interested, but if some team was interested, the 2024 dead cap hit, it goes down. It's still $68 million, and the cap savings, and that's not a typo, negative $32.6 million. Now, the only somewhat remote possibility I could actually see Russell Wilson not being on this team in 2024 is if you make him a post-June 1st release. If you designate him post-June 1, his dead cap hit is still a whopping $35 million, which would not be the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history. That belongs to Matt Ryan and the Falcons, a little over $40 million. But his 2025 dead cap hit is $50 million pretty much. Think about that. Going to 2025, $50 million just taken away. You can't use that to spend in free agency, on extensions, or any other players. That belongs to Russell Wilson's contract. Cap savings, 0. If you somehow were able to find a team to trade for Russell Wilson after June 1st, you could make it happen financially. $18 million dead cap hit, that's not a big hurdle. Still a $15 million dead cap hit for 2025, but you would save $17 million in 2024. There is not going to be a single team calling Denver on June 2nd saying, you know who we would love to have in shotgun this year? Russell, Mr. Unlimited Wilson. So, yes, this would be theoretically possible, but it's not going to happen. So, with that being said, will Russell Wilson return in 2024? Outside, I think the only way Russell Wilson does not come back in 2024 is if he agrees, well, I'm just going to rip up my contract because you guys just drafted a quarterback, Drake May, and told him he's going to be the starter, and I don't want to be the backup. So I will take the loss on all this money. I'll rip it up, release me so I can go compete for a starting job elsewhere. I don't think that's very likely. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. As always, I'm going to sign off and see you all later.